Hi, everybody. Tom Van Hoy with this week's Pitt State Baseball Insider Show with head coach Matt Murray. Pitt State battled the weather in Emporia State last weekend. MIAA normal schedule, single game Friday, doubleheader Saturday, single game Sunday. You have 3 days to play 4 games from the first day the series begins. Pitt State and Emporia agreed to move up the series and play 2 on Thursday and see what the weather would bring the next day. As it turned out, the team's able to play 2 doubleheaders, Thursday and Friday in Pittsburgh. 3 games decided by home runs in the final inning. Pitt State opened with a 2-1 win on Thursday. Cody Ball a walk-off home run on the first pitch in the 7th. Tyler Thompson the win. All Emporia in Game 2, 10-0. Then on Friday, Emporia won Game 1, 6-5. Home run at the top of the 7th. Gorillas battled back from 2-0 and 5-1 deficits to get that game tied at 5 with 2 runs in the 4th and 5th. In the final game on Friday and the series, Pitt State won with another walk-off home run. This time Brad Foss with 1 out, bottom 9. Pitt State had trailed 3-0 at one point in this one. Ryan McKay got the win after taking the loss in the first game of that doubleheader. So after the split, Pitt State 5-6 overall and 4-4 in the MIAA. Now this week, Pitt State scheduled on Wednesday against Drury and Springfield. Weather, the winner in that one, that game canceled. This weekend, scheduled to play 4 MIAA games at Central Missouri and Warrensburg. Weather changing the time frame. Appears 2 doubleheaders now and depends on the weather when they're actually going to be played. Here's Coach Murray on the overall play of his team against Emporia State.
We had to juggle our schedule around a little bit. Typically, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type series, and we have a 4-day, the window of Thursday through Monday. And then once you start it, you have, as conference rule states, you have, 3 days to get the 4 games in. And we elected to go with the Thursday, Friday, 7-9, 7-9. And so as you can imagine, there was some weather that was involved, but I felt like our club was prepared to play in that type of weather, and most of our guys are from this area, so it didn't seem to bother them. Obviously, we'd like to have a little more consistent weather where we can practice and defensively, anyhow, and repeat our activity and our motion more than what we're doing right now. So, but once all said and done, we were able to get all 4 games in, and once again continue to learn more about our club. The more I think about it, I say it jokingly, but I feel like we've already been through a 50-game season, and what I mean by that is just the different scenarios that our defense has been put in, the different scenarios and matchups that our bullpens had to face, coming from behind, being ahead and someone else coming from behind, just a lot of different scenarios, and being on the road, of course. But so I think we're able to learn quite a bit. I really do, through the first 10, 11 games here.
Sometimes you never know how games are going to go, particularly with the way the weather is. And how are your field conditions? Because sometimes it could be give a new meaning to the term bad hop.
Well, that's good. That's a good point. I'd say 50% of the fields in our league are have the field turf.
Really?
And we're still natural grass, and we have a wonderful playing surface. We did quite a bit of renovation this off season we put in over 100 ton of dirt and put some new sod in and laser grade and that type of thing. So ultimately we had the tarp down. We ended up pulling it off before game time, but I think it played pretty well. I didn't see it being a disadvantage to either club. So I think overall our field played pretty well.
Is the field crowned? Does it drain well?
Well, you know what it does. Certainly now that we have we installed the new dirt and new material. It just it didn't before. We obviously kind of around the third base and the shortstop and the second base area. We were just really low, and it took quite some time to get the water out first of all, and then for it to dry. right now, it's I think we have a I'd say a pretty good grade on it, to where it does kind of run off. Our outfield has, I feel like, outstanding drainage. Even when we pull the tarp back and the water's placed into the outfield, it gets out of there pretty quick.
Well, one thing about a Division II baseball, your guys have to do more than play baseball, right?
Well, that's right. I tell you, and that's a concern. I mean, as far as coaches and players getting the field prepared, and then immediately turn around and ask to play at a high level. That day we elected, bless our hearts, but we elected for our pitching staff to take care of the tarp and things like that. Certainly not the starter or anything like that, but the rest of the pitching staff. And while they were getting the tarp off and preparing the field, our positional players were getting through their dynamic stretch and their throwing program and that type of thing. So we were able to juggle it pretty well, I thought.
Well, we've also talked, and I always found it interesting at the Division II level, is that you can play a great game. It's an emotional game. And, you could even take the win over Emporia 2-1-7, the walk-off home run by Cody Ball. And sometimes, there's the guy that hit the home run that's, he's dragging the field there after the game's over to make sure it's in good shape.
No, that's right. I mean, you're exactly right. It's a group effort. So once the game is completed, unlike, as you had mentioned, some of your bigger programs budget wise, our players have a post game responsibility, and they're asked to rake the lips and help drag the field and clean out the dugouts, of course, and those type of responsibilities that help play a part in making sure our field's in great shape. And so someone like Cody Ball, there was celebration there. There was excitement, and of course we had to turn around and play immediately after there. But once it was all said and done, we were all taking care of the field, make sure it was ready for Friday.
Hey, with the way the weather is in the Midwest this time of year, it is cold. Do you have heaters in the dugout or anything like that?
Tom, we don't. I know that there's a couple programs that have heaters that are installed into their dugouts from up above, and it's of course only for the home team.
Yeah, like the old Boston Garden, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So in that cold shower, right?
Yeah. But no, we don't have that. We talked about what you kind of see on the sideline in a football game. We talked about bringing some of that in, but we just haven't. Our guys are, they're moving around, staying loose, and if we're asking a player to come off the bench, we have to make sure that we give them plenty of time to get stretched out and stretch their legs and start moving the bat and those type of things. And it's critical that our guys that are in the bullpen, that we get them going early enough. So I think it's just just managing it, making sure that our coaching staff and players are on the same page and make sure they're getting loose and getting ready.
Tom Van Oy, along with Pitt State baseball coach Matt Murray. Well, 10 minutes in, I guess I ought to get around to the game, right?
Well, no, yeah, that's right. I guess I tell you, it was an interesting weekend. Obviously, we split, as you had mentioned. 3 of the games were ultimately on. If you just look at the last chapter or the last inning, ultimately was decided by a home run. 2 in our favor, 1 in their favor. But I tell you, we're slightly dysfunctional right now offensively. You look at the weekend overall, we had 37 hits and only 14 runs. You take the first game, for example, and they threw an outstanding pitcher who was pumping strikes and had a second, third pitch, and we did too. And our Tyler allows 4 hits and has six strikeouts and 1 walk, and we get 10 hits off their pitcher and only score 2 runs. And that kind of played out, throughout the weekend. For our offense, when we think we're functioning pretty well, is you look up at the scoreboard at the end of the game, and however many hits we have that amount of runs. 7 hits, 7 runs. 4 hits, 4 runs. 12 hits, 12 12 runs, and we're just not doing that. And I think we're trying to figure that out. I think a couple things take place. One, we're not being very selective, and so therefore our freebie count, our walk and hit by pitch, is not as high as what we would want it to be. And then two, when we're getting runners in scoring position, their pitchers are doing a nice job, of course, but we're not making them elevate their pitches. We're swinging pitches down out of the zone, pressing a little bit, and so those are some of the things that we've addressed as a team since the weekend. Now, obviously, we've been indoor, and so we just need to continue to get better at scoring runs.
How important, I think I know the answer to this, it's an obvious question, but how important is it in the first game of a 4-game series to get the kind of performance like you did from Tyler Thompson, 7 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, and I mean that must have been a heck of a ball game, 2-1 win, and the most amazing thing to me in college baseball is you played that game in 97 minutes.
Well, that's right. And you certainly do know the answer. I do. It's very important, and we'd love to see that every outing with all of our guys. That's just for us, pitching is number one priority. And you take that game and you say, okay, that's obviously you have to be realistic about it. Yet I tell you, Tyler was outstanding, and I think we will see more of that to come from Tyler. I really do. He's just he's a senior. He has good stuff. His confidence continues to grow, and I wouldn't be surprised if our 2, 3, and 4, whoever that might be, in whichever order that might be, I would be surprised if they don't continue to improve as well. I thought we had a nice outing by Nate Arnold in Game 3. He didn't do anything to hurt himself, and then certainly Les Meister in Game 4, who's a freshman. I think they were pretty close to doing what Tyler did. Just didn't limit them, to that few of runs. So hopefully we continue that.
Hey, to go back to Game 1 for a moment, we mentioned Cody Ball. Is that a situation where he goes to the plate and it was the first pitch, is looking for a pitch, and if he can handle it, do what he did?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's right. A certain approach with each at bat, and I think under that circumstance, even leading off the inning, I think our guys understand that if that goes for a F7 or an F8, then the guys behind him need to really stretch that inning out, which we haven't done really very well. But I think he was looking for a certain pitch and in that count, and got it, and he put a really good swing on it. It did. If you can visualize where our ballpark sits, it wasn't. He certainly didn't have any help by the wind. That's for sure. And that ball, it was going pretty hot off the scoreboard. Fortunately, we had that net up there, but he hit it pretty well.
Yeah, you have to go fundraise, right?
That's right.
Well, I guess we shouldn't, but we can gloss over that game too. 10-0 Emporia, but you did get 8 hits, but you did leave 10 on base.
That's right. We just, as mentioned, that's something we just have to continue to get better at, and that's scoring runs. You've just been fortunate to be around good, successful offenses and they're unselfish, whether it be a walk or a double or a hit by pitch or a triple, it doesn't matter. We're figuring out ways to score runs, and this offense just hasn't. And so Game 2 is a perfect example of that. 8 hits, 0 runs. And really, they scored in 3 different innings. I think it was 3, 4, and 3, and the 3 and 4 were there were some freebies in there, either an error or walk or hit by pitch that led to that 3 or 4. And then in the 8th there, late in the game, I think Jake Stevenson did an outstanding job of coming in after George and Tyro to keep it right where it was at. That was certainly 7, but he kept us right there, putting up zeros, and we just didn't offensively, keep trying to add on to what we, and get close to that 7. So that was a difficult game there for us, but it's certainly a learning experience.
Well, last week when we had this conversation, you really didn't even know about, from a scheduling standpoint. We kind of jokingly said, well, you're going to get the 2 games in on Thursday, and then you might have to just load up and caravan down I-44 and then peel off an exit if you can find a place to play. But you were able to get the 2 ball games in on Friday, and Emporia won the first 6-5, and you were down 2-0, 5-1, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, couple big 2-out base hits, and Emporia just able to come away with a win in that first game on Friday.
Well, that's right. Once again, it starts on the mound for us, and I thought Nate did a nice job, certainly catching, after catching game 1, and is just being a baseball player, and I thought he did a nice job. He didn't walk anyone. I don't think he hit anyone. He had five or 6 strikeouts in there, and gave us a chance in that 7-inning game. Certainly back and forth. And going into the 7th, I think he was tied up. Actually going to the bottom of the 6th. Ian Robinson gets a leadoff double in the pull gap, and it was just put a great swing on it. Ian was catching for us. We put in a pinch runner type situation there. Mitch Streeter, and then our 9-hole did an outstanding job of bunting down third base line, putting third baseman's hands. And we had a runner at third with 1 out, and a lead off and 2-hole coming up, and we just didn't force the pitcher up there to put a good swing on it, and put it in play. And we had strikeout. That led us into the 7th, and we get the leadoff guy to strike out, and then their 3-hole who's a good threat for them. Great hitter, and he 3-2 slider that just stayed middle, and he put a good swing on it, but I tell you, we would go with that matchup every time. Ryan McKay's done an outstanding job last year as a freshman and this year, and the guy just put a good swing on it, and and got us there. And here's the thing, Tom. I thought that was very difficult to swallow, but our players, probably more so than our coaches, and I mean that in a good sense, they really came together in that game 4. And as you had mentioned in game 3, it's kind of back and forth. It's the same thing in game 4, and we just continue to hang in there, and had an opportunity late, to get ahead of them.
Brad Foss hit one to walk it off for you.
Well, he did. He once again, it was kind of it was interesting. We get to that 9th inning, and once again, there are so many different things that could have played out before that point. Maybe he wouldn't have had to hit that, but he did. I think it was maybe a pitch that it appeared. I haven't talked to Brad, but it appeared like it was middle away, and he caught it a little bit out front, and kept his barrel on the same plane, and similar to Cody's, it didn't have much wind behind it. I can assure you, he hit that ball really, really hard. With 1 out. And I tell you, Derek Hackney led the inning off, and Derek put a great swing on it. Kind of to deep right field. And really looking back on it is probably a good thing that went for an out, because we would have probably had some type of action play on for Brad. But now Derek's out, and Brad's with a clear bases was just swinging away.
The one thing about baseball, and you mentioned this a moment ago about Ryan McKay had a kind of a tough outing in game 1, but you got to have short memory, turn back around, and he was good for you and got the winning game 2.
Tom, you're exactly right. Short memory, which is difficult in baseball, because there's so much time in between pitches or in between at bats to think about it. In basketball, you're just moving, going. There's not a lot of time to think. But for us, you do have that time, and Ryan, he's very, very competitive. Very competitive, and he came in Game 3, and then in Game 4, same matchup against a 3-hole, and the 3-hole hits a double, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, and then faces him again in, I believe, the 9th, and kind of we looked, third time's a charm, got him out, kind of an F8 there, but Ryan is he's just very competitive. He's very competitive. He has good stuff and everything, but he's just ultra competitive.
All right, so that's in the books, and now you couldn't play against Drury on Wednesday because of bad weather and field conditions and so forth, and it doesn't get much easier, right? You go your old stomping ground, Central Missouri, up at Warrensburg this weekend. I know you were scheduled last year, and in Pittsburgh couldn't play any of those games, and then in the postseason, beat them 2 out of 3 and had to play those games at Hayes. And I know these mean a lot to you, but as a former assistant there, is it tough for you to play these games? And have you had conversations with Coach Myers about what it may be like up weather-wise and so forth at Warrensburg this weekend?
Well, yeah, I know this. I know our players are excited about playing this weekend, and you're right. It's another tough opponent, just much like our, being at Hayes and Emporia at home. Our league has just really gotten better. So every year, and so every weekend is going to be a challenge for us. Our expectations will always be the same, and that's to go in and win all 4. That's our expectations. Some would say, yeah, it's not very realistic, but that's what our expectations are. And Coach Myers, it is a class person. It's a class program. Being next to him for 5-6 years there, I just know that he just runs a wonderful program. He's just a class act, and the field and how that's going to work. Visiting with UCM yesterday, hopefully make a final decision today. But we're looking at a couple different scenarios. One is a Friday Sunday matchup.
Okay.
And then the other one would be a Sunday-Monday matchup, both being doubleheaders. Because the Saturday right now, or at least last time I looked at it, the Saturday didn't look very good. So we would go ahead and make a determination to play 2 before we left. 2 on Friday, 2 on Sunday, if that were the case. But they were going to pull the tarp yesterday evening. And put it back down because I think they're expected some rain today, and then I'm sure pull it off again either this evening or tomorrow.
That's Pitt State Baseball coach Matt Murray on this edition of the Pitt State Baseball Insider Show. Gorillas scheduled to play 4 at Central Missouri this weekend. As you just heard from Coach Murray, a decision still to be made on when those games will be played. I'm Tom Van Hoy.